We're glad you've chosen to listen to our weekly talkback. The weekly talkback is designed to take a portion of the teaching from this week to a deeper level. You may want to listen to this week's teaching, but it isn't necessary to understand the weekly talkback. If you'd like to connect further, feel free to reach out to us through our website, kanoichurch.org. For now, enjoy the weekly talkback from Kanoi Church, where our mission is to lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ.
Good morning. It's good to be with you again today for this weekly devotional. Last night I was at a board meeting, and somebody at the board meeting led us through a devotional, or through a guided prayer time, we'll say that, of Psalm 23. And so as I reflected on Psalm 23, some of our instructions were to consider if there is a word, a single word that really sticks out in the midst of hearing that read over and over and over in a quiet space. And I want to read Psalm 23 for you this morning, and then I would like to share the word that stuck out to me in it. So Psalm 23, I'm reading from the NIV. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. King David writes this psalm. We know that because it says a Psalm of David right before we read this, so that's his authorship. The thing that stuck out to me as I heard this read over and over was the word restores. I don't know where you're at this morning, or maybe it's not this morning as you watch this. Maybe it's nighttime, or it's 2 days or 3 weeks or 10 months later after this has been recorded. I have a sense that a lot of people are tired. The last 2.5 years have been hard on people. And, a rubber band stretches a very long way if it stretches one way. But as soon as you begin to stretch it in multiple ways, it can only stretch so far. And through COVID and through politics, through some of the issues of race and protesting, through hard conversation, through loss of job, loss of work, loss of income, loss of employees. A lot of people, I think, are just tired. I'm tired sometimes. I think it's something that we can all relate to. And whether it's just a moment where you're tired, whether it's just it's been a long week and I'm tired, or it's this is the season of life I'm in and I feel tired all the time. Or maybe it's something left over from when you had COVID and you feel tired a lot. I think being tired is something we can all relate to. The word that stuck out to me last night was restore. He guides me. He leads me. He restores my soul. I think this is a promise. I think this is something that David experienced in a very real way in the midst of David's very difficult life. And I will say difficult, and not because David wasn't a king and didn't have lots of wealth and didn't do what he wanted at different times. David had a hard life for a lot of reasons, especially leading up to that point, and then after. And David tried very hard to seek after God in the midst of being a very imperfect person. And yet, in the midst of feeling tired, of feeling like he goes through the darkest valley, he says, "The Lord restores my soul." I think in the world we live in the culture that we live in, we are pretty much told to be a little battery that just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. Be the Energizer Bunny. We elevate the Energizer Bunny as our role model. If only we could just keep beating that drum for as long as we can. Unfortunately, it's not so simple as just putting an Energizer battery inside of us. When we stop beating the drum, when we get tired and exhausted and we slow down, it's for good reason. And we often don't take the time to rest and to put our own health before getting the things done that we feel like we need to get done. In the midst of all of that, of course, we want to have wisdom and we want to take care of ourselves. But there's this promise of David. The Lord is my shepherd. I want for nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. It's not really a devotional this morning. It's more of a, hey, if you're tired, it's okay. It's been a long road to lead you to this point that you're tired. But the thing that we want to do with that tiredness is not find a deep, dark well. It's not to bury it all down and not listen to our bodies and our minds and our exhaustion. What we want to do with that tiredness is run to Jesus, not away from Jesus. We run to Jesus because Jesus, God, is the one who restores our soul. And in the midst of being exhausted, that's exactly what we need. So my prayer today, my call to you, my hope for you is that if you are exhausted, you find the rest you need. And not just rest in your bed, but rest in God. And I hope you have a great day. Hey, before you go, I wanted to give you a bit of a sneak peek on what we're going to be looking at through the summer. We've been doing this Simple Church series for, I'm not even sure how many weeks, for almost the entire spring. And Simple Church is going to come to a close at the end of May. And starting in June, we're going to be doing a series called Jesus Walks. And we will be doing monthly series throughout the summer. So keeping it fresh, keeping it moving. We're not going to get bogged down in one series for the entire summer. So in June, Jesus Walks. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be studying several of the stories in the Bible where Jesus walked. And I'll give you some sneak peeks. Here we go. Jesus walks on water. Jesus walks on the mountain. Jesus walks in the vineyard. And Jesus walks in the garden. So I'm excited to go through that study with you all and to talk about those stories that can be so catalyzing for our faith. When we get done with that, come July, we're going to be looking at a series called The Jesus Habits. And there's this book by Jay Dennis called The Jesus Habits. And we are going to be picking out 5 Jesus habits. And these are things that Jesus did in his life. These are things he regularly did. And we will be studying those. And what are those? Building relationships, confrontation, listening, giving, and rest. So I'm excited to go through that with you as well. Then come August, we are going to be looking at this book. It's called Improving Your Serve by Chuck Swindoll. And again, we've picked out 4 areas of this book. And we're going to be looking at what does it mean for us to be a servant and how can we be a better servant of Jesus Christ in the midst of it. And so here are the 4 topics we'll be looking at for that. The servant as giver, the servant as forgiver, the consequence of service, and the rewards of serving. Now, that's June, July, and August, and that leads us into the fall where we will engage in a longer series again. And I'm excited to share this with you because it's something that we've been working towards for several years since I've come to the church. And my professor from seminary recently came out with a book. And the book is called Centered Set Church by Mark Baker. And we are going to be going into a series called Centered Church. And you might remember, I've referenced this before. We've talked about this in church because we've been working towards being more of a centered church. But we talked about being a centered set versus a fuzzy set or being a bounded set. If that language sounds familiar, then you know where we're going. Regardless, what we're going to be doing is while we do a sermon series on being a centered church, we're also going to be doing a Sunday school class on this book. And we'll be walking through this book together simultaneously as we do the sermon series in the fall. I'm really excited about that. I want you to be excited about what's coming up this summer. I want you to be excited about the fall. And I want you to invite your friends. This is not a shameless plug to say, hey, bring lots of people to Conoy. It's a simple truth of the matter. If you think our series on Jesus Walks would be interesting, invite your friends to that. If you think your friends would enjoy the Jesus habits, improving your serve, then invite your friends to those series as we do them. It's low commitment because it's only a month long, but if you stick around for the month, I guarantee you're going to walk away with something helpful. And then if you're curious, what in the world is Centered Set Church? Well, you don't want to miss out on the fall because it's going to be great and it's going to totally reframe how you understand church. The subtitle for this is Discipleship and Community Without Judgmentalism. So if you've ever encountered judgmentalism in church, maybe you're the one who's been judgmental toward other people, or maybe you have felt judged by others. This series is for you because it's going to push us to engage in our faith in a new way. Well, I hope you're as excited as I am. I'm looking forward to these things coming up. So we'll see you there.
Hi, this is Pastor Nick. Thanks for listening. I hope something that you heard today was very helpful. If you want to connect with us further, feel free to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or our website, conoychurch.org. Sure, I'm glad we're in this together.